Welcome to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society, whose mission is making connections through music with the intention of bringing peace. Or as some people like me to say, creating unity through music, but they both work. Anyway, I am here today, beautiful Friday, in the Studio 1 of the worldwide headquarters of the Planetary Gig Society, and really am very pleased to be able to talk with a musician who I really don't know, but we met, he reached out, and we got some things to talk about, I can tell. Roy Kramer. Kevin, thanks very much for taking the time.
Hello, Jefferson. Thank you so much for having me here.
Man, well, this is great, and you're a Wooten Woods alumni, so to speak.
Indeed.
It's quite a place to have been from, in a sense, you know?
Oh, my. Yeah, it's something that I will carry with me always, and I hope to be back, too.
Yeah, well, and I went to music and nature camp last year, and then I heard Roy Wooten say, well, Spirit Camp is my favorite, and I thought, okay, well, that's music basically telling me I should go to Spirit Camp.
Mm-hmm.
And that, so I went last year and this year, and it's pretty cool. So I'm anticipating we're going to see one another down there in the Wooten Woods at some point in the future.
Yeah, I sure hope so. Absolutely. I mean, so the first year I went was 2013. I had gotten a copy of the music lesson in 2011. And I had initially heard people discussing it when I was going to school at Columbia College in Chicago. I was in like a music history class, and just before class started, one of the other students brought up Victor's book, and I just kind of made a mental note of it. And then someone else brought it up a couple years down the road. I'm like, all right, I got to get this book.
Yeah.
And it kind of all unfolded very organically for me in the sense that, I read the book and it really, reached a deep place in me that I'm like, wow, like these kind of ideas and perspectives really line up with these feelings that I've had about music, and kind of expressed it in a way that I haven't really been able to put my finger on too. So I went to one of Victor's concerts. He performed at the Canopy Club in Champaign-Urbana. That was like 2012. And it so happened that afterwards, he was just hanging out outside his tour bus, just meeting with fans and whatnot. And I overheard him talking about his camps. So I'm like, I wonder what's going on with these.
Cool.
I just looked it up online and saw that there was, the Music and Nature Camp coming up in May of 2013. And I went there, and it just, this whole journey, like related to Wooten Woods and stuff, it just has expanded what I'm already doing with music, which has been an amazing thing to be able to, be a part of and active participant in.
It's pretty amazing. I met the drummer percussionist for Rising Appalachia, Biko Cassini, and I was asking him about music because he had posted some stuff on Facebook about some things, and he said, hey, listen, if you want to know about music, you should read this book. And it's really changed my life. I don't think we would have formed the Planetary Gig Society with that, focus on sort of intention if it wasn't for the book. And certainly having gone down and been able to interview Victor at Wooten Woods opened up a bazillion doors. And so it's the reason we're sitting here talking.
Absolutely.
So
which is
cool.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I know you're multifaceted musician. When did music kind of come into your life, tap you on the shoulder? Was there music in your family? Was there music? Did you take lessons? Did you start off with one instrument, go to another instrument, get into bands? How did all that transpire?
So yeah, I would say a little bit yes to all of the above.
Check all the boxes.
Yeah, I think initially at a young age, I didn't really have many instruments around. Like my parents did not play music. I think they just had kind of, the standard like music classes in school, but they never really picked up any instruments of their own. They played the radio though. So
yeah,
I grew up listening to classic rock, and, my mom was a subscriber to Columbia House in the 90s.
Whoa, they send her an album every week or something, or tape?
Something like that. Yeah, they had like the penny CDs you could get. So I remember I was like 7, and my first favorite song was by Green Day. I think the song was called Basket Case. So I remember asking for that CD and really, really digging that. And around that time in my life, I had an interest in guitar. I asked for one, and it didn't really pan out for me to get one. I think the local music shop had like moved. They changed locations, and then it just, amidst the shuffle of everyday life, it just didn't pan out. But in school, the school I went to, we had music class as well. We started the recorder in 4th grade, and it's just something that has like made sense to me. So I remember playing the recorder, and it just made sense, and in school, it's like in other classes, you're doing your own work. It's you as an individual. In sports or in PE, it's like teams and stuff like that. There's that energy. But with music, it's like everyone's on the same thing.
Yeah.
We're all doing something together. So there's just that kind of different energy about it, I think, has always spoken to me. So 5th grade, I picked up the trumpet. And that's something that, I stuck with. And by the time I was in about 8th grade again, the guitar was calling my name. I think specifically, I saw the music video for Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. So just that song and everything with it, it had already been out for, I think, 8 or 9 years at that point, but it really just resonated with me. I think that's the best way I can put it. It really resonated with this, I don't know if angst is the word, but just kind of like, not everybody is an athlete. Not everybody's one of the cool kids, and music is a way for people to express themselves just as themselves, So
yeah.
I asked for a guitar, and was grateful to have received one. This white Squire Strat, kind of Hendrix-esque. And shortly after that, just started playing music with friends, and everything since then has just been this like snowball effect, I guess.
It's a cool path to be on, young. I didn't do that. I was kind of a jock myself, and
that's
and then did you start, I guess you ended up playing in bands and that sort of thing. You stick with the guitar, that's your main instrument now?
Well, initially, so we I was doing band in school, but then also playing some rock with friends and stuff. So we were practicing in my basement, and the drummer left his drums there. So and having also been in like marching band and stuff, I remember like always kind of turning around and watching the drummers just really being kind of mesmerized by that. So I started playing drums a lot too.
Wow.
And so I think I would call myself a multi-instrumentalist
Cool.
At this point. So
to me, that's a great thing to aspire to. I mean, I'm sort of aspiring to that in a way. I got a ways to go, but it's that you have different perspectives. You're not just playing one thing. You can see music from a lot of different ways, I guess.
Yeah, so that rhythmic aspect, I think, gave me a very kind of solid foundation for any other instrument that I would pick up.
Yeah.
whether it's guitar or vocals or piano or, all kinds of different instruments, Native American flute.
Ah.
I think the rhythmic aspect is always there, and being able to play drums kind of freely, because eventually I wound up playing drums in a couple bands that were playing all the time, playing gigs and also just doing like original music. And, I kind of also got into some drum circles that were happening both in the area that I live, which is like north central Illinois.
Uh-huh.
And when I moved up to Chicago, I found some drum circles there too. So that type of environment is a really rhythmically liberating place to be able to kind of express yourself and just kind of try to open up and see what you can do and how it fits in with, what else is happening.
Yeah. So now are you, you've been playing music all your life, really. And I guess you've been in bands and stuff. What are you up to now? What's your kind of your current gig? Are you playing a lot? Are you teaching?
So, again, I think yes to all of the above. So I decided to study music composition. So I had gotten to play at a lot of the college campuses around the region and kind of see what it was like at those places. And then I went and checked out Columbia College in downtown Chicago. And it really just struck me how much different it was there. So I opted to go there and focused on composition. But I think I was also kind of an unofficial performance major in a way too, because I did a lot of performing when I was there, and really started to find my voice, because I didn't grow up as a singer or really being encouraged to sing necessarily. I mean, there were some bands that I found that really, kind of started to bring it out of me, where just really amazing music, and it just kind of, you just can't help but sing along with it.
Right.
So yeah, I started to find my voice and write my own music, moved back to the hometown area, and found my way to this music studio that opened up. And I pretty much showed up there like the first day, like it just opened up. And I started teaching guitar lessons and drum lessons there. And at the same time, I had also like started my own band, just like this trio. And I had in Chicago also, through a series of events, acquired this looping station that has definitely changed the way that I create music too, and like both live and kind of when it comes to writing music, it just opens up more possibilities for sure. So
yeah, that's very cool stuff. I have a little loop thing I need to work on more. I just picked up guitar about 5 years ago, really, and seriously, and
nice.
it's an incredible journey. It's like in some ways it's easy, and in some ways it's really hard, particularly when you're older, I guess. But it's just it's a joy and a passion, and can kind of give your life meaning in a way.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great way to kind of just connect and reconnect with yourself, and this kind of source of renewable joy.
Source of renewable joy. That's a good
yeah,
string of words there.
Yeah, I mean, I've just had so many wonderful teachers, and being able to be a teacher myself, it's like, it's awesome, because I still am a student as well. I'm still learning and growing every day. But just to be able to watch other people kind of start from, never having played a note on the instrument, and then to just start picking it up and finding their own joy. It's really, it's a special thing. I feel very blessed to be able to do what I'm doing. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it's like in the music lesson book. I mean, it's interesting the way that he kind of wrote that with the student, the player, and then the teacher. And I can't teach you anything. I can only show
Yeah,
you. But you can be shown a lot of different things that you wouldn't see if it wasn't somebody who showed it to you.
definitely.
And you also, I know you play. I saw something on Facebook, sitar, I think it was, and you'd been doing some music with yoga type stuff. So, tell us about that.
Yeah, so I guess I would have to rewind about 13 or 14 years. I was going to the local community college here, and I took my first yoga class there. And I really enjoyed it. It really made a noticeable difference in my quality of, day-to-day experiences. So that's just something that I've tried to carry with me, and it's something that, so there's been an interesting series of events, I suppose.
Cool.
Because one of the bands that I was in playing drums, I joined the band at the same time as this trombonist who I had been in a previous high school band with. So my friend Andrew and we joined this band, Egon's Unicat. And that was one of the bands I was doing a lot of drumming in. So in about December 2006, Andrew got ill. And he started having seizures one day. They never really figured out what even was causing these seizures, but Andrew wound up, 20 years old, he wound up passing away.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, for me to be 20 years old and to all of a sudden out of nowhere lose one of my very closest friends, from since freshman year of high school, we were in the school band together, and in this kind of ska punk band in high school, and then moving on to this band Egon's Unicat, playing some wild rock and roll, and doing this kind of do-it-yourself tour. We went out to Virginia and toured our way back to Illinois. Great. Just having all these really amazing experiences, and then all of a sudden this best friend of ours is gone. Really just kind of shook me to the core, I think, and made me look a lot deeper into what was going on. And I think a couple months or so that happened, someone had given me this book called Autobiography of a Yogi.
Man, I just got that. Just
really
last week or something.
So that book was also one of my kind of big, it had a big impact on me. And to have had that perspective around the time of my friend's passing, really, I think, it started me on my own path, just to be opened up to this kind of Eastern philosophy and worldview of life in the universe. It really had a very profound impact and, led me to be kind of a deep thinker about things and the nature of things. So yeah, I wound up, like I said, going to Columbia College, and right when I was starting to get settled in there, I looked up yoga studios in Chicago, and one of the first ones that popped up was this place called the Temple of Kriya Yoga. So I wound up going there and really had some
it's my bird clock.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really had some, profound experiences there, and learned a lot. And the musicians, the temple musicians there kind of welcomed me with open arms when they learned that I was in the city studying music as well. And, I was invited to participate and learn the mantras and kind of join them in meditation. So, I mean, previously I hadn't really, delved that much into meditation. But I think it's something that I carry with me all the time. And I've kind of done my best to like incorporate it into my actions, because we don't always have the means to just sit still for hours and hours.
Right.
So I think I've, ever since those times gone about my activities with a meditative mindset, and it's made a huge difference in I think my experience and what I'm able to offer to other people as well. And so, yeah, it's something that I've tried to continue and collaborate with other people. So earlier this summer, I met this woman who studied at the same place, the Temple of Kriya Yoga in Chicago. And she had these like mantras, these melodies that she composed herself. And we got together and I was able to set them to music. And
wow.
Just last month, we performed at this Midwest Yoga in Kirtan Festival event, which was really a nice thing to be a part of. Man. And later this month, we're going to do something at a yoga studio in her hometown area. So this is still something that is actively developing, and really just, I feel like as a musician, I'm pretty diverse, and I've had to be diverse to be able to keep doing it. So it's just like a deeper aspect, I think, where it's not necessarily about putting on a show. It's like the way that Gina puts it. She's like, it's like a prayer-formance.
A prayer-formance. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to check out some of this music. I didn't really have a chance to listen to some. Because I have thought about that myself. I interviewed a yoga teacher a while back, and she's a friend, and she plays some guitar sometimes for, her classes, and I think she played it in ashram, wherever she was at some point, and I'm kind of interested in that. I don't know exactly what to do, but one thing would be to hear some of it,
Yeah, and so you just got that book, The Autobiography of a Yogi. So
yep.
Yogananda, his story is really amazing too, and he has like written chants and stuff himself. So he has this book called Cosmic Chants that has like notated music and stuff. But yeah, just that whole tradition is really pretty amazing. And I mean, I think, George Harrison, that's like what he brought to the Beatles, or what he like kind of played a big role in like introducing not just his bandmates, but like the whole of like Western culture.
Civilization, yeah.
I mean, because to me, like, that's one of the big things that makes the Beatles stand out from their contemporaries, is that like they just had this whole other kind of cultural element, collaborating with the Maharishi and going to India. And I guess, Paul McCartney went to Africa too around the time of Sgt. Pepper. So yeah, I mean,
so these two things have been music and sort of the yoga and the Eastern music influence have been very big in your life. I mean, how would you describe, similarities, how they relate, what they, you got sort of two things, but is it really two things? How do they, there's a symbiotic relationship, I guess, too. How would you talk about that?
Yeah, I think I focus on the similarities, kind of like you said, where we're all on this planet together, right? And
right,
we're kind of standing on the shoulders of giants in a way. Just the cultural and musical and just the works that have already been created are so amazing. So just to try to kind of like learn about that and absorb that and be able to incorporate things into, you know, what we're doing nowadays is pretty amazing. It's a wonderful thing to be a part of. So the original music project that I started when I kind of moved back to my hometown area, I called it ahimsa. So it's like a Sanskrit word. And normally it translates in English, like the spelling would be ahimsa. So I kind of like put this little musical connotation to it, and I spelled it. Yeah, ahimsa. I spelled it a little differently, like ahymnsa. So like hymns. So I think to this is like the long answer to your question about bridging these things.
Right.
I think personal realization that I had is that, like, you know, there really is no separation in terms of like this is holy and that isn't holy. Like everything in life is connected, and you know, like every sound could be like a hymn in a way.
Yeah.
You know, like every sound is like sacred in a certain sense.
Right.
And also the idea that, like, you know, so that ahimsa translates to the opposite of violence, you know, so like I think actively enriching something, you know, so I think
very cool.
One of the definitions of music would be like it actively enriches our lives. So that's
absolutely
kind of the intention behind it.
Very cool, man. You're putting together some good stuff there.
Working on it.
Yeah. It you know, we were talking just a little bit before we started about the whole Eastern music thing. It's like, whoa, man, you know, that the Spirit of Music camp last year, the singer from India, I forget her name right off at the moment, who was on his CD, the Tripnotics.
Yeah.
She was there and talking with us a little bit about the ragas and all that. It's just, and then, you know, Michael, when I interviewed him, he talked about Nada Brahma, the world is sound.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you begin to hear these things, you're like, this makes a lot of sense. You know, why wasn't I thinking about this before? You know, it's just amazing. The whole world is vibrations. And
yeah. Science is proving that too.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And I think, you know, we've been in a culture that's like so like visually oriented.
Yep.
That the auditory aspect has gotten overshadowed a little bit.
Agreed. But, yeah, absolutely.
Are you familiar with cymatics then too?
I have heard of cymatics. I haven't really studied it. Oh, that's like Hans Jenny. Yes,
Hans Jenny. So he discovered these different frequencies would create these geometric patterns, right?
Yeah.
So to me, like, that's kind of shows us that like sound and vibration is almost like building blocks to the material world in a way. I mean, there's the whole like, you know, stereotypical like opera singer singing a certain pitch and the wine glass shatters or whatever.
Right.
But you can really look deeply into that, and it's really a profound thing. And then another influence of mine in that regard, are you familiar with Dr. Emoto?
I don't know if I've heard about Dr. Emoto.
So he has this book, The Hidden Messages of Water. And pretty much he did these experiments where...
Oh, wait, yes, I have. Yeah, Future Man mentioned him.
Yeah.
When you freeze the water, is that it?
Yeah, and like, you know, these... If you say like, I love you to this water, it creates these like geometrical patterns that are... There's like symmetry there, and they're kind of intricate. Or if you play classical music, you know, it creates these really unique geometrical patterns. But playing like some heavy metal or saying negative things to the water, it kind of looks all distorted and stuff. It's really pretty fascinating stuff, the implications of that.
Yeah. So, man, you're really an eclectic guy with all of your, thinkings and things that you're looking into. How are you? What are your thoughts about what all this means to you, and where are you thinking about taking it? Where are you heading with this yourself?
For me, as like an individual, I've realized that collaboration is pretty crucial, and over the years, I've been collaborating with people, and just kind of being able to meet them where they are, and just kind of realizing that it's not all about me, and I'm not married to like being right about all of my ideas either. It's just kind of entertaining these thoughts about what might be happening on a deeper level. So yeah, just like collaborating with people, and I have a lot of musical ideas that I've put on the back burner, or just kind of allowed to simmer and ferment over the years. Of something that I haven't mentioned is I became a father. My daughter was born in January of 2013 also.
Cool. Congrats.
Thank you. And that's been an adventure.
Yeah.
Through a turn of things beyond my control. I've also been doing it like essentially as a single parent for the last few years too. So I've had my daughter with me for 3 years now. And thankfully I don't have any siblings. So like my parents are happy to help out when I'm gigging and stuff. But yeah, that's just really lent this whole other perspective to everything I'm doing too, and kind of allows me to see things with new eyes and just gives a really fresh perspective. But yeah, really kind of like you said, in terms of me being eclectic, as a musician, I, play music for people from all different walks of life, all different age ranges, from nursing homes to my daughter's school. I just did a presentation for some first graders, and everything in between. So it really has just given me a very broad perspective of the reality of the human situation and the human condition. And, it helps me try to remain compassionate towards others, and to not necessarily judge people if they might be, not the most kind to me or something. I don't know what other people are going through ever. And then it's just like developing what I have to offer, so I know how music has helped me and inspired me. So like, if I can make music that down the road helps other people and inspires them, then, mission accomplished, I suppose.
Man, that sounds great. It sounds like a fabulous thing to focus on. And I really like what you said about collaboration, because it's pretty important. There's a lot of humans and a lot of other living things on the planet, and the more we can collaborate, the better. But music teaches you a lot about that too. I mean, you can't just run out there and play whatever you want and everybody else plays whatever they want. It kind of clashes. It doesn't sound so good. I mean, you do have to learn to listen. You do have to appreciate the other person, not really judge them. If they make a mistake and screw up a lead, well, we got another song, It's a fabulous teaching tool. Something, you can really learn a lot about yourself through music, I guess.
Absolutely. So it's teaching me every day.
Yeah, very cool. What else do you think we can do sort of as humans? I mean, it does make sense what we're just talking about. Music can teach us some lessons, but got any specific thoughts you've been thinking about, or even non-specific thoughts about? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, something that really I feel pretty passionate about, like should be kind of implemented in musical education is I've heard different names for it, either like the Roman numeral system or the Nashville number system.
Uh-huh.
But being able to think about music in terms of that, to where you put the major scale to numbers instead of note names. Like when I learned about that in college, I'm like, why didn't I learn this in like second grade?
Yeah.
I think teaching kids that from an early age, it it'll help them with math too, because stacking harmonies and stuff, you're adding numbers, and I think it just really helps people understand and appreciate music, and just creates better musicians for the future. I mean, there's a lot of amazing musicians already, and more every day, but
Yep.
there's a lot of room to grow as well.
Absolutely. So, everybody on the planet is a musician. They don't all know it, or don't, maybe haven't focused on it, but
yeah.
And I agree with you about the numbers. It's a funny thing, particularly, I don't know if it's particularly being older and trying to learn this stuff. I played harmonica for a while, and all what we had there was arrows in and out to show in and out of the harmonica, and numbers of which hole you were, blowing or drawing on.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to put that into A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and sharps and flats was really hard to do. But when you do think about it, well, the one is home,
Yeah.
sort of, and that way in these different relationships, I'm kind of teaching learning this stuff now. I'm going to a bluegrass jam class,
Nice.
kind of beginning just to hear what that's about. My friend Tara Linhart said, yeah, you got to check that out. And, it's about the 1, the 4, and the 5, and it's pretty simple just doing that, but you can play some pretty good music, and, you don't have to think necessarily, this is C, the 4th of the whatever, and yeah, so that's a good point. I think there should be more emphasis on that, honestly, and for young people too.
Yeah, because their brains are like sponges. They learn so much faster.
I know. I've got a granddaughter who's 2.5, and it's just insane. Is your daughter playing music? Playing some music, banging on pots and pans or anything?
Yeah, there are lots of instruments around, and honestly, I think the one instrument that I'm encouraging the most is her voice, because the voice is our instrument that we always carry with us. So. Just kind of getting those vocal cords moving at an early age, I think will make a big difference in what she realizes she can do as she grows.
Yeah. The voice is the main instrument in, let's see, this book of Sufi music stuff I was reading. Voice, then instruments. We always think of music as from the instruments, but the voice, you're right, is really important, and we always carry it around. And the more you do it, the better you get. It's a fabulous thing. So
absolutely,
yeah, got a lot of hope for the future. I've got, it's what a gift you can really give to a child, is to be open to them playing music and encouraging of that, I think.
Yeah, that's actually my daughter's middle name, Hope.
Ah, beautiful.
And there's another story that ties into Wooten Woods, or the Wooten family. So. I went in 2013, 2013, to see Victor at summer camp, this festival down by Peoria, Illinois. And he was just hanging out after his set, like he does a lot, because he's an awesome, down-to-earth dude.
Yeah.
And my daughter's mom was with me there at the time, and she made these bracelets, and she's giving him these bracelets for his kids. And one of them was Hope. And Victor goes, Hope, that's heaven on planet Earth.
Oh, and my goodness.
I'd never heard that before. Wow. And I'm like, because, sometimes people will say hope is kind of this wishy-washy type thing. But really it's what are we all aiming to build, regardless of our religious beliefs or affiliations. It's we all want to make this planet an enjoyable place to live for everybody, so
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just really a refreshing perspective.
Yeah, it really resonates, and it depends on how you look at it. I spent a lot of years of my life after my midlife crisis and trying to figure out what the hell life was all about, writing a book that I called Heaven is Everywhere. It's not like a religious thing, but it's sort of a perspective, and that heaven on planet Earth, man. Yeah. I'm going to use that one.
That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and thanks so much for taking the time. I love, getting to know you, hearing about some of the really cool stuff you're doing. Man, your daughter sounds like she's a rock star, and and you're going to be you got a long time to be a great dad too, and a great musician. So, can't wait to hear more about what you've got going on. I want to check out that the mantras or what you're playing with the yoga stuff.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I really appreciate that, and your conversation here today is great. There's one thing that I hear you talk about. You ask everybody, and part of the reason I reached out, I'm like, I want to throw my 2 cents in with this one too. So you ask everybody about the power of music.
Yeah.
Like what is the power of music? So I always think of the Jimi Hendrix quote. One of his most famous quotes is, "When the power of love exceeds the love of power, the world will know peace." So to me, like, the power of music is the power of love.
Yeah.
Right. And like this kind of greater love, that transcends just two people, this kind of life itself, the energy of what propels everything forward in some ways.
That's profound stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and I'm glad that you ask people that. And like when I listen to the podcast, like I'm just like hoping that someone will mention something like that. And I hadn't heard that one yet, so maybe I haven't listened to enough of them. But also, I'm like, maybe I'll get to throw my 2 cents into this one too.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I was kind of meaning about what is that when I asked something earlier, but I didn't say it exactly like that. So I'm really happy that you decided to put your 2 cents in on that. Yes, absolutely. It makes sense. The more we get it out there, the more we think about it and put it out, I think we have more of a chance of getting to that place. Hope.
Realizing that, our differences are way less than our similarities. We have so much in common, and that doesn't always get focused on.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes, the artists have to be one to bring that around and be like, hey, we're all in this together.
Yeah. And, as Roy Wooten would say, the artists are the ones who can really put it out there, got some power behind it. And it just, I don't know, it makes perfect sense. I love sort of the thought process or the perspective of just looking at people and trees and everything. It's just kind of a beautiful, beautiful notes, different shades of sound, different shades of color, different shades of vibration that are just each one perfect. And sometimes discordant a little bit, maybe, but
It's a beautiful thing to be a part of, and like we're always a part of it. And it's just, sometimes we all get caught up in our own thoughts, so we have to kind of be like, whoa, these aren't my thoughts, and there's this beautiful reality.
Right.
Tune in and share that instead of feeling bad for myself or something, or angry at somebody.
Yeah, that just it's not as good as this other perspective. All right, Kevin, and thanks so much for taking the time, for reaching out. Really, I'm very happy to be able to get to know you and talk with you, and we'll certainly be seeing you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, I absolutely hope so, Jefferson. Thank you so much for having a conversation with me today and allowing me to speak out on some things.
Well, the world needs to hear all this stuff, so I appreciate it very much. Everybody appreciates it. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, have a good one.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Thank you.
Peace.
You've been listening to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society. We talk with musicians and others about the power of music and how we can use music to help create a better world. Please check out our website, www.planetarygigs.org, for information about some of the organizations promoting music and musicians, resources about the power of music, books, movies, articles, including new research on music and the brain. We welcome your support. The Planetary Gig Society is a Section 501c3 charitable organization, and you can donate on the website. You also can receive a free email signature block demonstrating your support for Planetary Gig Society. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Planetary Gigs. And we want to thank fabulous musician and teacher Eric Weinberg of Little Eric Studios for the Planetary Gig Talk music titled Chill Kid, It's Saul. So please check out Planetary Gig Talk on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Subscribe and hear all the upcoming episodes. Thanks very much.